An evil disease. That's the way a Midlothian man describes COVID-19. And tonight, our Laura French has more on that man's stunning recovery and tells us how the recently FDA-approved treatment is saving lives.
But this disease is evil.
Joe Rodriguez describes the disease that in a matter of weeks has spread through his home, taking the life of his wife's 93-year-old grandmother and infecting him, his wife Jennifer, and their 15-year-old daughter Sophia. The Midlothian family's nightmare with COVID-19 began back on March 23rd, when Joe says he contracted the virus
as part of my World Trade Center follow-up
during the New York native's annual post-9/11 COPD checkup at his Powhatan doctor's office.
It was a roller coaster. It went from 104.5 down to like 97. It got so bad that I've got them here. I had asked my wife to bring up a pair of ski gloves because my hands were so cold. I had 2 pairs of socks on.
Joe tried to ride it out at home, but by Sunday, April 5th, things had gone from bad to worse.
Sunday morning, I woke up and I had that 900-pound elephant or 9,000-pound elephant sitting on my chest.
After being rushed by ambulance in critical condition to St. Francis Medical Center,
I was in fear of my life.
Joe was admitted to the intensive care unit and started on hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. He and his wife got their affairs in order as hope was fading.
We cried and we did everything. Basically, it was sort of like I'm trying to pass everything on to you, and I just don't know what else to do.
That was until he was introduced to Dr. Shilpa Jory.
Nice meeting you too.
With Pulmonary Associates of Richmond and INO Pulse.
It is a small investigational device that delivers a gas called nitric oxide with each breath.
Jory says she's used it for years on patients with pulmonary hypertension or constricted blood vessels. But now it's being used as an investigational device for COVID-19 pneumonia patients. The FDA granted emergency access approval March 20th. The gas is delivered through this thin plastic tube, which is placed in the patient's nose in conjunction with oxygen.
So nitric oxide works in a couple of ways. Initially, it helps relax those blood vessels, as a result of which there's more blood flowing to the lungs that can pick up the oxygen, and the blood oxygen levels increase as a result of which.
Added that to my oxygen. And I would say a few hours later, I was sort of awakened out of the stupor with the jolt, because I sort of felt some energy coming back.
And he was not alone. Jory says 9 local patients, including Joe, have now completed treatment with INO Pulse. All had required oxygen therapy in the hospital prior to treatment. All of them have recovered and been discharged.
Joe, do you think that INO Pulse made the difference in saving your life?
I'd like to think that nitric oxide played a major role, because shortly after I was on there, maybe 10, 12 hours later, everything started happening.
Well, Dr. Jory acknowledges this is promising. She warns this is an investigational therapy and will require scientific studies and a much larger sample of patients.
This disease has affected so many people that we're hopeful that if the clinical trials do get started, at least that number can be fulfilled, and we can have results from it that would guide us to treat patients in the way that the results show.
And while the virus has left the Rodriguez family broken, they are also counting their blessings.
You went into the hospital, Joe, thinking that you were not going to come out of the hospital.
I was discharged from the hospital and I wanted to kiss the ground, just to smell the air, see the trees, feel the breeze on my face. I never thought I'd ever get to experience those feelings again. And every day that I've been home here, it's been better and better and better.
Joe says the rest of his family is doing okay, and thankfully his 11-year-old daughter, Isabella, has tested negative and is staying with a relative. Dr. Jory says that candidates for this treatment are screened and do require being on oxygen. She says that this therapy has prevented some patients from being intubated and put on a ventilator, which are in short supply. Meanwhile, the manufacturer of the device is working with the FDA on proceeding to a clinical trial. Working for you, Laura French, CBS 6 News.